Hello, welcome to another segment of Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell. I am Malaika Moffat. In the last few conversations, we've been speaking with ministers and senators under the United Progressive Party government. We've been highlighting the achievements from 2004 to 2014. I trust that you've been well educated over the past few evenings. Throughout our conversation, we encourage you to pay keen attention and feel proud of every single achievement. So stay tuned to this session of Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell. Welcome to our program, Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell. Sitting with me today is Dr. Edmond Mansoor, who is the Minister of State in the office of our Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Winston Spencer. He also holds the responsibility of telecommunication, science and technology, and special projects. Good afternoon, Dr. Mansoor.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to the program.
You are welcome. I want to get to know you a little bit better. I mean, everybody see you. You talk a lot about technology, and you always have this serious face. I want to soften that up a little bit today.
I don't know about that.
So tell me a little bit about you, and those who are listening too. We want to get a little feel, of what makes you happy, what's your drive, and then we get into our conversation today.
I am one of 6 brothers,
Okay.
Second to last. I'm married to Cindy. I have 2 beautiful children.
Okay.
I did a first degree at St. Mary's University in biology and chemistry, double major. And then I did some work in clinical biochemistry and then proceeded to medical school. I'm a graduate of the University of the West Indies School of Medicine.
Okay.
I practiced clinical medicine for approximately a decade, and then afterwards I have been serving in government as a minister.
Yes.
So what makes me take on a day-to-day basis? Life.
Nice.
I hang out. I like to go to all the social activities that they're here. I play Mass in Trinidad. I've been playing Mass for the last 25 years.
Okay.
I've played Mass in Barbados, in Jamaica, in Bermuda. But I have 2 sides. One side is the work side, and the other side is the take it easy side. Hang out and just take it easy.
Nice. Let's talk a little bit about the work side. I remember, if it's not 2012, when you had the last ICT Fest. I was there, and when you were giving this speech, there's one thing that you said: always be ready so you don't have to get ready. How important was that quote to you in doing all that you've done thus far?
I think it would be very important because planning really is the forerunner to success.
Yes.
And I would extend that by saying proper planning, prevents poor performance. And I would like to think that I'm a fairly good strategic planner, and having gotten comfortable with the plan, then we proceed to the execution of the plan and making sure that we get to the finish line. I'd like to think that I'm a very team-centric person, and it's been a pleasure working with a great team at the Ministry of Telecommunications. But planning is very important, especially if you think that you have a fairly complicated project that you want to work on.
True, true. As Minister of State in the office of our Prime Minister, can you tell us a little bit about your experience and some of the things that you've been involved in?
I would divide them into 2 categories. Okay. One would be work, strategic work in the government in the areas of initially information, broadcasting, telecommunications, science and technology. Okay. And that has been really an attempt to reposition Antigua and the Antigua and Barbuda economy and to prepare ourselves for what I call the knowledge economy, where access to knowledge is a core value that we as a government have been propagating, where there is an emphasis on continuing education and lifelong learning. Yes. So if you look at what is happening worldwide, it stands to reason then we have to leverage on technology as a major driver of that particular ethos. Yes. And by extension, moving the knowledge economy and preparing for the economy where everybody can compete for goods, services, and exporting one's talent and exporting the services that we have. On the international side, It's been a pleasure working with a number of outfits. I want to single out His Excellency Dr. John Ash, who is now the President of the UN General Assembly and previously our lead ambassador at the United Nations. It's been a pleasure working with him and his team, Ambassador Deborah May Lovell and High Commissioner Roberts. So I've had a chance to really get a first-hand view of what the international diplomatic circuit looks like. It was a pleasure of mine to join the Prime Minister on 2 occasions to the United Nations and on some state visits. So I've enjoyed that, but it's been a very good and interesting learning curve, and I can tell you I've learned a lot from those experiences.
Excellent. We're having an interview in a facility that is a mind-blowing project of yours. How do you feel right now? I mean, I'm not going to tell you to be, boasting and everything, but you're allowed to from all your hard work. How do you feel sitting here right now in Gate doing an interview?
Well, I feel good, I'll be honest.
Yes.
This particular facility, which is the GATE ICT Cadet Training Facility, is part of the GATE project.
Yes.
And it has been very clear in my mind that coupled with the deployment of hardware into government offices and into schools, that we had to twin that with a training program, especially for young people. Yes. And that the training program had to be real, and it would provide them with skill sets that they could utilize on a day-to-day basis, and more importantly, retool or add to the tool sets that these young people already had so that they could become entrepreneurial, they could become business-centric. Now, when I first started GATE, when I first started a new media unit, GATE was not yet born, and I have to tell you, it fell flat on its face. After 6 months, we had to sort of regroup and shelve it and come back with a new ethos. So I think that the key thing here is the acquisition of cutting-edge technology, combining that with a good team of people who see the bigger vision. And while this technology and this pre-tooled skill set, this pre-tooled human resource is doing government's day-to-day work, that we match it and couple it with training for young people in a structured way. So I think we're on the pathway to something that is potentially hugely successful.
Yes.
I want to say this, that in government I have learned not everything will work, but it really takes hard work to make things work consistently. Because sometimes they can work and at other times they don't. What you really want is a situation where they work consistently and that they are achieving all the preset goals. In this particular facility, thank God, we're pretty much on track. So I feel good being in the studio. It was a big push, but I think it's been successful so far.
I must commend you again for it. Also for the HEART program that you facilitated maybe a couple of weeks ago. From Res Consulting, you got a group from Trinidad and Tobago. I was a part of that program, and I cannot tell you how much knowledge we gained, the participation with individuals, the connection in just 2 days. With you doing something like this, what other expectations you're setting for yourself when you see these things manifest and see how vital it is to the nation of Antigua and Barbuda?
Yes, I think that if I had to summarize it in one phrase or one word, it would have to be job creation matched with entrepreneurship. In other words, we are now positioning Antiguans and Barbudans in the technology realm to become entrepreneurial in focus and global in perspective. So when we would have had an outfit like Res Consulting come to Antigua to to lead 3 or 4 very important workshops, the Young Girls Business Revolution, the workshop for those businesses that are already in existence but are looking to sharpen up their business skills, as it were. And then there was the workshop for individuals who have business ideas but need to be able to get in an environment where they can perhaps blossom that idea into reality. Those should be very good indicators of what would happen in a post-2014 Ministry of Telecommunications, Science and Technology ethos, where we are focusing on entrepreneurship, innovation, job creation, and sustainability. It's no longer just about gadgetry and the internet. It's about making sure that we in Antigua and Barbuda maintain our #1 position as the ICT capital. And that's not a cliched term. So it is about getting innovative. It is about getting entrepreneurial. And I can't re-emphasize that. I can tell you without reservation, there are several solid plans that would see us to that finish line, where potentially you have this occurring. On an annual basis, at least 500 cadets going through this facility, both during the day, and we will open up the facility at nights for training. This is a specialized facility. You don't want to close it at 4 o'clock. So we will have a day grouping and a night grouping. We will also focus very heavily on getting young people to understand what are those baby steps that they can take to ensure that a new business is fairly successful. Thirdly, we will stay competitive on the content creation side. I am pleased to tell you we have plans for a master digital creative lab focusing on everything from digital music production, digital graphic design, and digital websites in all of its forms. I say that in the context of recognizing that in this era, the actual framework already exists, Malaika, for exporting our talent, our creativity, and our goods and services. We just need to get smarter at it and more businesslike.
You know, I was looking at one of your videos when you were handing over a license, to Caribbean Superstation and also to Smash Broadcasting. First of all, I must commend you because you mentioned the percentage from 8% to 88% for Antigua and Barbuda when it comes to our impact for internet, and also for the government of the United Progressive Party government allowing licensing, allowing free speech, allowing persons to have a voice. And you played a very major part, a very, very major role. How would you continue that, or how do you plan to continue that?
Well, we plan to continue it by sticking to our people first philosophy.
Yes.
Unlike our predecessors, we have truly opened up the media in Antigua and Barbuda.
Yes.
Because it's not just about radio and television and newsprint. It's about people accessing the super information highway. If you look at Facebook, people can go on Facebook and criticize the government, and they have been doing that.
Yes.
They have.
They have been.
So I say that we have created a plural society where everyone feels fairly comfortable in expressing their views, rightly or wrongly sometimes. So we will proceed towards aiming for 100% internet penetration in this country. Now, how do we plan to do that? Already, some 35% of Antiguans and Barbudans access the internet via their mobile smartphone. We know that from the data that we have researched. Those numbers are growing. It is precisely for that reason, Malaika, that we want to drive high-speed internet connectivity to mobile devices. And that is why 4G LTE to mobile devices is a big phenomenon. You have your smartphone on you, you're at the bank, you're at work, you're at school waiting to pick up your children. You can leverage on high-speed connectivity in real time. Now, we also need to continue retooling the public sector. We are developing training programs for different stratas in government, trying to retool people, trying to make sure that government services can become more efficient in all of their realms. But more importantly, and this will be a main part of our focus, we want to create more jobs in the IT sector, especially in the private sector. I am talking about call center jobs. I am talking about jobs related to people who have skill sets in mobile app development. We have the funding earmarked for additional training in mobile app development. The fact of the matter is, this does not take place overnight. We have the blueprint, we have the ideas, we stand by our record of performance here at the Ministry of Telecommunications.
Yeah.
It's been a decade of hard work with good results.
I love that answer. Mr. Minister, let's talk a little bit more about the interest shown by previous administrations outside of Antigua and Barbuda in the Cadet project that you started, especially Papua New Guinea and a few other countries that you've mentioned.
We had a request from Digicel Antigua Barbuda to facilitate a high-level ministerial delegation from the Pacific island of Papua New Guinea.
Okay.
This took place in the fourth quarter of last year because evidently what has happened is after we commissioned the gate facility, and to be fairly straightforward with you, even the Digicel corporate executives were very shocked by the final product we were able to produce in terms of the cadet training facility. So the government of Papua New Guinea sent a delegation here. I believe they spent about 2.5 days here. And we had a very interesting talk and interesting meetings. And the net effect of that really is this. The government of Papua New Guinea is exceedingly interested in using some of our skill sets here to fashion a similar program there, especially in their education system.
Excellent.
We've signed a memorandum of understanding with them, committing to making some of our human resource available to them to jumpstart a similar project.
Okay.
I believe very strongly in skill set transfer.
Yes.
If we can get 2-3 dozen young Antiguans to go to Papua New Guinea and work there on special contract for a special project, I say more power to those young people.
Yes, indeed.
We've also had interest, obviously, from a number of other governments. We had a delegation visiting, I believe, from the government of Grenada, but most recently from the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Tobago House of Assembly.
Okay.
They were obviously very interested in what we're doing here. It is not about, Malaika, just giving a device or giving internet access.
Yes.
It is about transferring skills, as I said, to people that may go on to start their own business or they may pursue higher education. If I were to use, let us say, this particular room, which is the new media unit here, the new media studio here, I expect over a 5-year period at least 2,000 young Antiguans to develop enough skill sets, either to go on to their own business in terms of still photography, web design, web journalism, or high-end audiovisual productions. It is doable. Let me say this to you, right? We have additional equipment arriving, hopefully this week, into the studio, because it is one thing to have a good idea, but it's another thing to have the right tools to execute that idea.
Yes.
And in this business of media technology, we have to understand that we need the right tools. We will provide the right training. I see Antigua and Barbuda in another 5 years or less as being a major hub for international level graphic design, for international standard web development, web page development.
Yes.
I see Antigua and Barbuda keeping a pace in the area of mobile app development. These are niche areas that can contribute significantly to the gross domestic product of this country. And whether we like it or not, matter of factly speaking, Malaika, technology is not changing the world.
Yes.
It has changed the world forever. It is in our interest. It is for our collective benefit that everybody in Antigua, young and old, understand that technology can propel us to first world status. The friendly countries are not going to do it for us. We have to, pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, by another expression.
Yes.
Let us get going. We are on our way to something that is potentially transformative, both in the economy and from the type of career choices that people can lead.
You know, Mr. Minister, whenever you're talking about the achievements and you're talking about maybe something else that is on the horizon, your face lights up. There's a big smile on your face. So when I'm looking at you and you're talking, I'm seeing that expression. But for those at home listening, you know, and our viewing audience, they're in our conversation at the moment and they would want to know, what is in it for me? How do I get involved? How do I get my children? How do I get my grandchildren? You know, I want to be a part of what the United Progressive Party is doing. What can you say to them?
Okay, there's no single answer to that, Malaika. Mm-hmm. We have had a multi-pronged approach.
Yes.
We have started in the early childhood education system. Just last week, we allocated brand new iPad Airs to all of the daycare centers that are registered with the Ministry of Education under the HART project.
A major achievement.
We had provided software, specialized software and notebooks to them about 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. We want to ensure that as a government, we are behaving very responsibly in terms of what we can do for early childhood centers. I want to congratulate the Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister of Education for making early childhood services available under the auspices of government. We must ensure, and we will ensure, that every child that requires early childhood education skills are receiving them to international standards. I cannot overemphasize that. There are major developments in this area that are coming from the Ministry of Telecommunications. Certain things may happen as early as next week. Then we moved into the primary school system and the secondary schools. We opened up community computer access centers because at that time we were not in a position to provide laptops to everybody or tablets. Then we made sure that the surrounding communities were accessing our mobile information technology classrooms.
Okay.
We followed that up by ensuring teachers had access to laptops and to connectivity at an affordable cost. Then we obviously had the GATE program. We have given out thousands and thousands of tablets to young people. So they take that empowerment tool with them to the classroom, on the school bus, on the playground, and at home, where their siblings, their parents, their caretakers can all share in that wonderful technology experience. In addition, we have now developed the training facilities. So if you look at the age ranges, we are starting very young and we're going all the way up. Now, having done that in the last 10 years, we are now in a position to start looking at what I call vulnerable specific groups.
Okay.
As we speak, we are undertaking major work in areas like autism, Down syndrome, Asperger's, anybody who is visually impaired, somebody who's blind, someone who is deaf or has a hearing impediment. We are undertaking a fairly detailed study so that we can bring international best practices to helping these individuals, whether they are still in school or they are out in the community working or they're languishing at their homes. We are bringing international best practices to how technology can help these people. So we have moved from the general areas to the specific areas. We are helping the Clearview Hospital, the Mount St. John's Medical Center. We're on the verge of assisting the Adele School again.
Yes.
We will build under the HART project a brand new center called the HART Center for those that are visually impaired, those that have hearing impairments, as well as those that have motor challenges and conditions like Down syndrome. I mentioned all of that because we are onto something very huge in IT. A lot of other governments have recognized it. We recognized it as a government back in 2004 because it was in early 2005 that a master blueprint was developed for radically transforming how technology can impact on the fabric of this society. We have made major progress. No sector, no individual will be left behind. Look at the cost of cell phone technology, Malaika.
Yes.
Practically everybody can afford a cell phone. But it's not just a device for you and I to talk on or for someone to call home. We want to make high-speed internet available on those devices because that is the key. It is the connectivity at an affordable cost that is an important prerequisite to the knowledge economy.
That's a lot. I mean, the projects, everything that is, the plans that you have also, they are very major. Let's talk a little bit about broadcasting. What are some of the plans that you have for broadcasting?
Well, when I was Minister of State with responsibility for broadcasting, we obviously tried to modernize ABS.
Okay.
I was successfully able to bring in the outside broadcast vehicle because at that time, the policy was a minimum of 30% local and regional content. With the influx of cable television and with the influx of internet TV and being able to access so much video content on the internet, it is very important that we preserve our local traditions and create at least 1/3 of the broadcast day for local content and regional content. So it was under my watch that Good Morning Antigua Barbuda came into being. And I made several attempts to modernize ABS's operations. I want to commend my colleague, Senator Sean Nicholas, for proceeding with the plan that I had laid for a new facility for ABS. I support without reservation a new state-owned facility for an outfit like ABS that could bring it into the current era in terms of digital content. In other ways as well, we have expanded broadcasting because we have issued multiple broadcast licenses. The cabinet awarded it to religious groups, to those who wanted to do specialized programming like medical education. And as you mentioned earlier on in your introduction, we have licensed the Caribbean Superstation, Smash Broadcasting. We will shortly allocate 2 additional licenses. They're going to 2 religious organizations who wish to have their own radio stations. So we have had an open door policy. We will continue with that. The only limiting factor has been spectrum. I would like to see more local producers contributing content both online, which is what we're doing here at New Media, and on outfits like ABS, CTV, and Carib Cable. I believe that we have made major progress. It is for this reason that we are working with Timothy Payne at the Antigua and Barbuda History Museum. Because some of that work, which was captured on still photography and on negatives, needs to be converted to a digitized format. So we will play our part with private sector outfits, individuals or groups or NGOs that are cataloging Antigua and Barbuda's history. So broadcasting has been fully liberalized. I am amazed at the content that people have in terms of radio talk show hosts. I'm not necessarily convinced all of it is wholesome, but suffice it to say, under the administration of the Honorable Winston Spencer, we have made access to the radio airwaves very easy. We have given duty-free concessions to companies and outfits to bring in equipment, and Antigua and Barbuda is better off for it.
Mr. Minister, what else or what other achievements would you like to mention that I have not highlighted as yet? Because I know there are many achievements in the past 10 years. But other than the HEART program, under the GATE initiative, what other major projects would you want to make mention or make light to?
Certainly. I want to say that we have successfully created, I would say, in excess of 125 jobs, well-paying, meaningful jobs in the ministry. When I was assigned to this ministry, it was being operated, in my opinion, along like a very 1980s model. We began modernizing it right away. We brought in a telecommunications consultant to work with us. We had access as well to advice from the Commonwealth. We brought in a Commonwealth expert in ICTs who was on the ground for us for 2 or 3 years. During his stay, we undertook 3 very important surveys: a household survey, a private sector survey, and a survey in the public sector, benchmarking the use of ICTs and where there were gaps. And we have used that data every step of the way. You made mention of the ICT Fest. This
Yes.
was one of our biggest successes. It ran for approximately 9 years,
Yes.
and it certainly gained Antigua and Barbuda international attention. I want to mention as well the fact that we landed a submarine fiber optic cable system.
Okay.
This was done very early, and this has helped government to get access to an international internet gateway. This is how we power up the internet access centers, the mobile buses, and we provide a fair amount of bandwidth to the Mount St. John's Medical Center. It would be remiss of me if I did not mention the Public Safety Communications Network, the PSCN. This is the biggest investment in public safety. This is the E911 system and the two-way digitized Motorola system that is used by the police, the fire brigade, the Office of National Drug Control and Money Laundering Control Policy, the Defense Force, the Coast Guard, the Office of Disaster Services, the National Office of Disaster Services. We use it here in the ministry. This system enables a rapid response for someone who calls the 911 center. Over 95% of the calls to the 911 center, Malika, are answered in 10 seconds or less.
Excellent.
This is a great and major improvement.
Yes.
In addition, all of the trained operators in the E911 have access to the same radio system to provide the person who is calling with the quickest help from the most appropriate public safety agency.
Okay.
So the PSCN has been a major success. We have also been able to do a number of other things. Antigua has played its role in the Caribbean Telecommunications Union as a leader. We sat on the regional spectrum reform task force. The issue of spectrum comes up from time to time. In the last decade, the requests for spectrum in the region and in Antigua as well have been more frequent than they have ever been because of the ubiquity, because of the ease of connecting to the internet.
Yes.
And more companies are interested in deploying new technologies. I also must mention the mobile IT classrooms. These were done at a time when most of the schools did not have access to the internet, nor did they have access to computers.
Okay.
So we were able to do a total of 5. In fact, we've just started refurbishing them. We got a grant from a regional trust,
Okay.
and they were providing 2 locations with internet access and training for each bus. There were 5 buses, so 10 different locations a day and 50 different locations a week. These buses continue to be a huge success.
Yeah.
I want to say, more than anything else that I have done, I feel a certain level of comfort in ensuring that technology was not available only to the elite,
Yes.
to those who could afford it. We have brought technology in all of its realms, literally to the doorstep of the ordinary man and ordinary woman.
Yes.
And I have had my knockabouts from the middle class and the upper class in the society. I want to say that government has to make decisions that has the greatest impact on the greatest number of people.
Yes.
And we continue to work day by day to make sure that technology is brought to the doorsteps of the people in Erlings and Old Road and Piers and Yorks and Villa and Point, etc., etc., and Barbuda.
Not
This
forgetting
is
Barbuda.
this is not just a question of deploying hardware. Let me state without reservation, the state of the country's infrastructure in the technological era was woefully inadequate, almost missing when I was appointed Minister of State shortly after we had won the 2004 general elections.
Okay.
And that inadequacy is something we have corrected once and for all. And I am very, very satisfied with the quality of work that I have put in along with my team,
Yes.
both to enhance government's operations in all of its realms and to ensure technology got to the footsteps and the doorsteps of ordinary people. Finally, we commissioned a new data center that significantly modernized the operations of the Treasury and the Passport Office,
Okay.
the Land Folio Department, which is the Land Survey Department, the Immigration Management Control System, which is the Border Control System. So we have had a decade of work, but its impact has been profound on every sector of the society, especially those who needed it the most.
Mr. Mansoor, everybody calls you Doc.
Yes, yes.
How do you feel when you're addressed that way, Doc?
Well, I'm a medical physician by training. So, you know, I guess the tradition is when you become a doctor, they call you doctor, you know, that kind of way. I'm not a person, Malika, who's hung up about names and titles.
You're not?
I'm a very easygoing person.
Okay.
I'm not a person who has been obsessed or has been taken up or consumed with my government role. I'm as easy as they come, and whatever the outcome of the elections, I remain a proud citizen of Antigua and Barbuda who contributed in my little way, along with the team in the UPP, to the transformative, positive change that has impacted Antigua and Barbuda.
You know, let's rephrase that a little bit. When you said you're a little way, I think that was in a major way. What you're doing is very major, especially for the young people. We've been focusing a lot on entrepreneurship. You've just had a batch that graduated from GATE, and they've also been added to a second part of the project. That's correct, right? Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Well, you know, the Lord works in very mysterious ways. I had received a call from Timothy Payne, who was my teacher at the St. Joseph's Academy. He taught me history. And I had promised to visit the museum, and I asked the new media team to come with me on the spur of the moment, and we went to see the museum, and I was highly impressed and almost surprised at the level of work that was going on there.
Yes.
And there obviously was this need to catalog and digitize some of the prints and to produce a product that Mr. Payne could use to go internationally to seek funding for this type of project and simultaneously to catalog the work that he was doing. And so this was a great opportunity for the cadets to form an outfit, a mini business group, to see what we can do. So I have given them that assignment almost as a new job, as it were.
Yes.
And I am optimistic that they will come back with something very solid. They're doing three important things. One is they're producing an international style documentary on the work of Timothy Payne in cataloging the history of Antigua and Barbuda through photography. Secondly, we are going to construct a website with Timothy Payne that will feature the work of the museum. And thirdly, there are thousands and thousands of negatives that Tim Payne has. We are going to assist him with digitizing that. And that particular work could fall into the category of archiving the history of Antigua, and potentially there is international funding for this work. So the short answer is yes. The cadets are now going to take their skills and put them into a real world work environment, and they're all very excited about it.
Excellent. You know, we've spoken a lot about work. Let's talk a little bit about your fun side. They say you work hard, but you play harder. How do you spend... Oh, you didn't get that one. Sorry about that. You work hard, so you play much, much harder. You spoke about your children, so I know that you're a family man, but what is your best moment? So what are the best times or ways that you use to unwind with your family and regroup to do this all over again?
Well, anybody that knows me knows I hang out with my wife a lot, and I go to all the fetes, the carnival fetes. I believe the Shaggy concert is on tonight. I'm supposed to go there.
Yes, it is.
So great times for me are definitely family time, both with my immediate family and my extended family.
Yes.
So when my son was growing up and I was traveling quite a bit at that time, my wife and I took him with us wherever we went. So he's been to many, many countries. He's now going to be 9, doing very well at school.
Excellent.
My little daughter is, Gabriella, is going to be 5 shortly. She's an absolute gem, doing very well at school. But the best times when I'm out with them, hanging out, like when we go to the movies and I'm watching all these kids' cartoons and I'm, just decompressing.
Yes.
So most people who know me before I got into government would know that I approach work very seriously.
Yes.
But I like to find time to go to the beach and to go for drives in the afternoon and to go for ice cream and to do those things that everybody else likes to do. I don't smoke and I seldom drink alcohol. If I have 2 drinks a year, that'll be a lot.
Okay.
So there are different ways. I like to surf the internet and relax. I do a lot of reading on the internet.
Okay.
I like reading Caribbean publications. I read very widely. I don't spend a single evening without reading.
Okay.
I would read everything from newspapers online. I read all the Caribbean newspapers online every night. And I will read Caribbean works, especially related to culture.
Okay.
And I certainly keep up with international affairs and current affairs. And I will read, have you ever heard about the book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari?
No, The Monk.
Well, a good friend of mine recommended and I've been reading it. So I do a lot of reading. I think one of the greatest ways to nourish your mind is to read, whether it's from a book or reading online. And reading is in its own way a huge form of empowerment.
Yes,
And
it is.
I'm one of those people, I protect my mind and I nourish my mind and I like to nourish it with good things. And I try not to hang around people that are toxic, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. We spoke a lot about work. I like the fact that we spoke about your family. Should the United Progressive Party be elected for another 5 years, would you like to stay in the same ministry that you're at presently, or would you like to undertake additional roles?
I am at the disposal of the Prime Minister. That's my short answer to that.
I like that.
And I think to some extent in the second term when the Prime Minister added special projects to my portfolio, I have undertaken some work that is not necessarily just telecommunications, science and technology.
Yes.
I have undertaken projects that the Prime Minister considers to be special projects, and I have delivered on most of them. But I am available. I should say to you that my medical license is intact. My medical license is valid until 2016. I undergo continuing medical education.
Okay.
I maintain my contacts with the medical fraternity, and I have a number of options available to me. The only option that I will never exercise is I will always live in Antigua and Barbuda. I'm a Garrett. I was born here. I love Antigua. I will do whatever it takes to see my country progress. I have no difficulty with people that have thought patterns that are not synchronous with mine.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's the difference of opinion that makes a horse race.
I like that. The elections is around the corner. As we sit here and talk right now, Parliament has been dissolved. Individuals are home watching and listening. Those who really stand up for Antigua and Barbuda, as the Minister of State that has worked very closely with Honorable Dr. Winston Spencer, what in a few words can you say to them to encourage them to highlight and acknowledge the achievements of the United Progressive Party from 2004 to present?
The achievements, Malika, have been multiple. When I say multiple,
yes.
In education, in tourism, in agriculture, just reshaping the image of Antigua and Barbuda internationally. Prime Minister Baldwin Spencer has done an extraordinary job. You think I'm a workaholic? You try Baldwin Spencer.
Yes.
I have found him to be very straightforward. I have to tell you the truth. I have enjoyed working with him.
Nice.
People say he's a soft man. Well, I don't know about that. I find him to be studied. He's a focused person, and everyone knows he doesn't make up his mind overnight about things. But he's humble, he's easygoing, and there's a very light side to him. On the few occasions I've traveled with him on state visits to the UN or elsewhere, I have been to the Non-Aligned Movement Summit in Havana with him. We went to Bahrain and Kuwait together. I have found him to be an absolute champion for the people of Antigua and Barbuda. And he's genuine. He genuinely and deeply cares about Antiguans and this country.
Yes.
He's committed, he's focused, And I got to tell you the truth, the man is just a great guy. whether you like it or not, Baldwin Spencer is a great guy.
Good.
The man just good. And I have found working with him fairly easy, and I found him to be a great listener. He and I don't always agree on some things.
Yes.
And in the last 2-3 years, there are a couple of major issues we have had fundamental disagreements on, and I always respected him for reaching out and keeping communication channels open.
Yes.
But he is definitely a people's champion. And irrespective of the outcome of the 2014 elections, and by the way, the UPP will win that election.
Okay, then.
The place for Baldwin Spencer and the UPP in the history of the development of Antigua is secured, because the transformation that has taken place in the society, in my submission, has been phenomenal.
Yes.
Street lights, scholarships, school meals, school uniform, investments, you name it. We went through a very bad patch when the world economy was taking its toll on Antigua. We are out of that bad patch.
Yes.
We are definitely moving forwards and upwards. This is a great country, and it has had, in my opinion, very great and informed leadership in the last decade. Antiguans and Barbudans have a very important decision to make. That decision is not just about themselves and their families and their jobs, etc. And it's not just about the economy and the future. In my submission, and I say this without reservation, it is about children yet unborn.
Yep.
It is about children who are not born, but we are preparing the future for those children.
Yes.
And I say this because, I have encountered people who were, let's say, in grade 4, 10 years ago. Many of these people have finished school and are working or at university. And you see the change. You see the before, the during, and the after.
Yes.
And the Westminster style of democracy allows for elections every 5 years. So Antiguans and Barbudans have an important decision to make.
Yes.
And they must make that decision and understand where we are trying to get to. I have been very proud to be associated with the United Progressive Party. I have been a card-carrying member since I returned to live in Antigua in 1994, when I returned to Antigua, having finished my internship at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Barbados. And the UPP has grown better and stronger. And in our second term, notwithstanding the first 18 months tied up in courts, notwithstanding the fact that there were these international economic pressures, we have made progress that is benchmarkable, and it has been good for the people of Antigua and Barbuda. And so I say without doubt that with Baldwin Spencer and the United Progressive Party, the next 5 years will only bring more good for Antiguans and Barbudans. Baldwin Spencer has flown the Antigua and Barbuda flag very high, and so has the team. And he certainly has my respect for that.
I love the answer. And the ending part when you said the flag flowing high, because I saw you on Sunday at the back of a truck.
Oh, you saw me in the UPP motorcade.
I saw you in the motorcade, and you were having a ball. You had the biggest flag. So you were representing very proudly. As we wrap up Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell, what exactly would be your pleasure with the last few words to encourage Antigua and Barbuda to really open their eyes and observe, take into consideration the achievements and the advancement of the United Progressive Party, and including the work that you have started with the GATE initiative and everything else for Antigua?
That's a very difficult question, Malika. And I say that because of this. I have many friends who are on the other side of the political divide. I have respect for people that have their own secular political views. I have no difficulty with that. But the United Progressive Party has stamped its developmental agenda, its people-centric agenda on its 10-year stint in government. It has made sure that people are at the very center of decision-making. We have not been a government that has been vindictive. Yes. We have not been a government that has been secular. We are a plural government that has reached out to different strata in Antigua, to different sectors of the society. And there is no doubt that the last 10 years have been totally transformative in Antigua and Barbuda. Notwithstanding the challenges, I want to say this. We understand as a government on a day-to-day basis the challenges that people encounter. We are not static. We are not concrete. We are humans like everybody else. And we recognize what those challenges are. And Winston Spencer and the UPP have been working to address some of those challenges. Some of the answers are not overnight answers. Some of the challenges are extrinsic to Antigua. This economy is vulnerable to extrinsic shock. We have seen that with the international recession. But 10 years of progress, of forthrightness, and of people empowerment is what has occurred.
Dr. Mansoor, I honestly enjoyed our interview today. I must confess I was a little nervous because I remember I'm trying to say the doc is very serious, so I'm going to have to be serious today. But you've done very well. I must commend you even with the facilities that we're in at the present moment. I myself feel very proud coming through and seeing the young people in Antigua, you know, basking in the ambience of what you've provided an opportunity for them. And that is very, very vital. May you continue to do that. I want to bless your family and your children. May you continue to have a ball when you play harder. But I want to thank you for the program. Is there any last words, anything else that you would like to say before we wrap up this segment of Your Right to Know and Our Pleasure to Tell?
Yes, in 60 seconds. A number of people over the years have met me and have offered compliments and encouragement, and I want to thank them very sincerely for those remarks.
Yes.
I have also encountered people who have had what I consider, you know, sort of less than complimentary remarks. Not that I'm looking for compliments. In some instances, it's been a little bit harsh. I thank them as well. Yeah. It's been 10 years of hard work, and God bless Antigua and Barbuda.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure of mine.
For our viewing and listening audience at home, you've been tuned into Your Right to Know, Our Pleasure to Tell. And speaking with us today was the Minister of State in the Office of our Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Winston Spencer, also with responsibilities under the Ministry of Telecommunication, Science and Technology with special projects. And that would be Minister Dr. Edmond Mansoor. I am Malaika Muffet. Stay tuned.